going on, guys? We are Tottenham TV here, back with another match preview, and Tottenham take on Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, 12:30 on Saturday, and this game cannot be bigger in the race for the top four. Tottenham currently sit 1 point behind Chelsea going into this game, having already cut the gap twice after being 11 points behind Chelsea. Back in December, Tottenham had the chance to overtake Chelsea at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Unfortunately, a 2-0 defeat but paid to those chances. Chelsea went on to re-establish their 11-point lead, but that has now been cut again down to 1 point, and Tottenham really cannot afford to lose this game. If I was Jose Mourinho, if I was to get in Jose Mourinho's head, I'm assuming as well, given the fact we have our lack of attacking options, he's going to go into this game with a cannot lose mindset. I think a draw in this game would not be the worst result, given that we've already played Liverpool twice and Man City twice. He might think, if we can come away with this game undefeated, remain 1 point behind Chelsea, that'll stand us in good stead going into the remainder of the season, knowing the fact that Chelsea still have to play Liverpool and Man City before the season ends. Obviously, there's no easy game in the Premier League, so you can't take anything for granted, but I would assume how Jose Mourinho, especially given the fact he's still kind of finding a way to play without a striker since Son and Kane both been pretty much ruled out for the end of the season, I think he's going to go into this game thinking, I mean, you saw against Leipzig how conservative he can be. You saw that how we're going to be approaching games for the time being with our lack of attacking options. I think he's going to go into this game with a don't lose. I think we're going to see a draw as a good result, and I don't blame him. I think we're gonna be sitting back really defending a lot, and that's where most teams, when they've gone to Stamford Bridge this season, they've gotten their most joys, when they've kind of been compact, they sat back, they haven't given Chelsea any space, they haven't pushed forward, they've sat deep and then hit Chelsea on the counter. Teams like Southampton, West Ham, and Burnley, I believe, all gotten good results at Stamford Bridge via digging deep and kind of sitting deep, hitting on the counter-attack and not giving Chelsea any space. Now, I feel that Chelsea have been pursuing, since Abraham's been injured, they've been pursuing the option of having Batshuayi up front or a false nine, and it hasn't really worked. And I do believe they're going to be starting Giroud this weekend, which is bad news for Spurs, because I think if Tottenham do sit deep, Giroud is the perfect kind of striker to kind of get in between the central defenders, create a nuisance of himself, and kind of, when Chelsea defenders are swinging balls in the box, like people like Reece James and Mason Mount and Willian, he's the perfect striker who you want in there to kind of be battling the centre backs. I think Batshuayi hasn't really worked out for Chelsea. I think they use him because they prefer his pace up top and they prefer having someone to run in behind. But I think if Tottenham are going to deploy the tactics I think they're going to deploy, I think Olivier Giroud is the perfect striker for Chelsea to come in. And I think the fact that he came on against Man United, scored a goal which was just about a millimetre offside, and definitely looked more of a threat in the half an hour he was on the pitch than Batshuayi did the whole 90 minutes, however long he was on, sorry, then I think that's going to sway Lampard in that sense. I think Chelsea are also ravaged by injuries just as much as Spurs are. They have a lot of injuries in midfield. I know Pulisic, Callum Hudson-Odoi are out injured. Obviously, Tammy Abraham's a major doubt for this game. So it's going to be two teams who are not going to be at their best. And also with Chelsea, they've only won 2 of the 8 games since they beat Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in December. So it's a team in really, really poor form. And they've just got beaten by Man United side, who also have got very bad injuries. Rashford and Paul Pogba out injured. They were managed to go to Stamford Bridge and carve out a 2-0 victory. So there is always hope that we can go into this game with hope that we can get a positive result, that we have more than enough quality to hurt Chelsea. But I think Mourinho is going to see a draw in this game as a positive result. I think if we get a draw, I think that's not the end of the world. And I think going to the rest of the season 1 point behind Chelsea, I think would stand us in good stead, because I think we've got decent fixtures left. I think Chelsea have actually been in really poor form for a few months now. And although they started the season very well, and I know they turned up in a few of the big games, I know that City away, they played very well even though they lost. Spurs away, when they beat us 2-0 was a very, very comprehensive victory. But a lot of games they've struggled this season, and I think it shows that they've struggled, the amount of trouble Tottenham have had. And we're only 1 point behind Chelsea after Lampard. Everyone was praising him after the start they had and implementing youth. They've had almost as many difficulties since then as Tottenham have had. So it really is a question of whether Tottenham can turn up in this game. But what Mourinho was saying after the Leipzig first leg on Wednesday night, that he's not so much worried about the one-off performance. What he was definitely worried about was that we have to continue playing Lucas and Bergwijn just until they're absolutely dead. We have to kill them because we have no other attacking options. And I feel like Lucas isn't really working up top. He's not a real striker that's going to be troubling defences. I think I would rather try Bergwijn up top and maybe put Lucas on the wing and give that a go. In fact, if I was Jose Mourinho, what I'd really do is I'd have a midfield three of Lo Celso, Ndombele and Winks, have that combating the Chelsea midfield three of Jorginho. I think Kante's out injured, but Jorginho, Kovacic and whoever else, Mason Mount. I think if we have that midfield Lo Celso, Dembele, Winks, that could really compete with the Chelsea central midfield, because on paper you would have said before the game that Chelsea's is maybe superior to Spurs, but Tottenham have never had that midfield three. And what I'll do is I'll push Dele to a false nine, have Bergwijn and Lucas on the wings, and I think that sets us up for a really good counter-attacking system. I think have Dele Alli floating as he does anyway, and obviously he can drop back, support the midfield when we're out of possession, because he's a natural attacking midfielder anyway, so he would do that in a natural process. And I think he has more physicality about him than someone like Lucas Moura, so he's more likely to be able to hold the ball up and bring other people like Bergwijn and Lucas into play and get them in running behind. So the problem we've got at the moment is we're lumping balls to Lucas, who's admittedly not terrible actually in the air because he's got quite a big leap, but we've got players like Dele Alli's running off Lucas and Bergwijn, and we lose a bit of pace that we could have with Lucas and Bergwijn instead of Dele and Bergwijn running off him. So that's the how I would go for it. But what I feel like is Jose Mourinho is going to persist with Lucas Moura as he has done in the past few games. He did have a few chances against Leipzig, so he's going to use that probably as evidence that he could still come up with a goal against Chelsea. And I think they have a back two. Obviously, they're probably going to be starting Christensen and Rudiger at the back, who aren't the paciest, especially Christensen, who's a big, tall centre-back, but he's not the fastest. But it's whether we can get Lucas in situations where he's going to be running at the back four in the way we're going to be playing, because the way Jose Mourinho likes to set up, he likes to sit deep and play balls into a target man and have the target man hold up the ball, bring other people into play, but we don't have that player at the moment, which is we're really... we're licking the wounds now of kind of not signing a striker in January or in the summer, especially not replacing Llorente, who we could really do with right now the way we're playing. But with Chelsea, with Tammy Abraham out, I think he had a great game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium back in December, and I think that'll be a big boost for us. But I think Olivier Giroud poses different problems than he would. Obviously, Willian and Pedro played in midweek, played on Man United on Monday. So if they persist, I think that would be a good sign for us, because I think the pace of Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi would really frighten our fullbacks, especially getting in behind Aurier and Ben Davis. But I think Willian Pedro would be easier to handle. I think actually the two lineups are pretty well matched. I think it could be a very, very close game, especially with injuries to both sides. I think if we have our central midfield options, I really hope we don't play Dye, but if we have Lo Celso, who's been an absolute star recently, and I think Chelsea will find it, especially without Kante, will find it very hard to deal with him in the centre, because the way he weaves his magic, if they don't get tight to him, he could really make a difference in the centre midfield. Hopefully Ndombele, despite Mourinho saying he wasn't able to start against Leipzig on Wednesday, maybe he's building up his fitness even more and he's able to really make a difference from the start. Obviously, you've also got Jensen and Lamela, so we do have a few options on the right-hand side. And Winks has been playing a lot of football recently, but I think as well he's improving a lot. And if we can outnumber Chelsea in the midfield, hopefully dominate them physically, maybe we have a shot of victory. But I'm going to go for a draw. I think it's going to be a close game. I think both teams aren't in the best of form. I think we're in slightly better form than Chelsea, actually, surprisingly. And we go into this game, we actually probably might go into this game more confident than Chelsea are, which is baffling given the amount of injuries we had, and everyone saying that we are going to struggle to score goals, which is absolutely true. But Chelsea are just in terrible form. They've lost a few games recently, and they're just as blunt at the moment as we are going forward. So maybe even more so. So if we can get an opening goal in this game, really put Chelsea under pressure, we could really come away with a positive result. But I think Mourinho's going to go safety first. I think it's going to be a draw. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I don't think it's going to be such an open game. I think we're going to be sitting deep, waiting for a few counter-attacks and hoping that, I think defensively, especially since the Chelsea game, I think we've improved a bit defensively, and I don't think we're going to be very open in this game, so I'm going to go 1-1. I think that'd be a good result. Let us know in the comments below. What do you think the result's going to be? How do you think we're going to approach the game? Do you think, even with our injuries, we're capable of getting results? Because I really do believe so, but I'm just hoping that we're not burnt out for Wednesday night. Let us know in the comments below. Like, subscribe if you like the content, and as always, come on you Spurs.